Shadow of the Colossus starts with death, the death of a woman sacrificed for having a cursed fate, a fate we learn nothing of and has no further relevance. This death is the catalyst for the events of the Shadow of the Colossus, a story that is told with very few words, yet words that lay the foundation for a tale about love, death, cruelty, and more. Everyone knows by now Shadow of the Colossus is a special game. Check any list of all-time great games and it's certain to be on there. The game's premise is very clear. You play as a man who wants to revive a woman who has died. To do so, you bargain with an entity known as Dormin, who resides in a place named the Forbidden Land. Dormin offers a pact, kills 16 Colossus that roam these lands, and he will revive the woman, Mono. And thus our man Wanda sets off to find and slay these creatures, accompanied only by his faithful horse, Agro. This is the introduction to the Shadow of the Colossus. You then hunt down and slay these Colossus over a 10-hour period, and the game comes to its dramatic end. This foundation in itself is not what makes the game special, it's what's left unsaid that makes this game stand out. It's the question you are asking yourself all the time as you play. Shadow of the Colossus is a titan in the way it embodies the art of showing and not telling. Everything about it is evocative, with the sparseness of its spoken story and its continued refusal to explain anything more demands the player to ask questions. Even its name, the Shadow of the Colossus, begs questions. Is that just imagery? The sight of Wanda standing alone against these mammoth beings in their shadow? Or is it Wanda himself, on a constant chase to the next Colossus, being referred to as their shadow? Or is it Dormin, revealed to be an almost literal shadow, who summons constant shadow beings throughout the game? It's a game that's constantly inviting thought, question after question. All we learn about our characters are their names. Does this make their names significant? What is the relationship between Wanda and Mono anyway? Wanda clearly cares deeply for her. When warned there will be a heavy price for his actions, Wanda retort, it doesn't matter. Why doesn't it? It's not just the story, because Shadow of the Colossus is masterful at extending this intrigue to every other facet of its being. Why is this place called the Forbidden Land? Who is Dormin? And why do they want us to slay these beasts? The Forbidden Land is full of broken architecture, strange rock formations, and landmarks. What happened here? The Colossus themselves are an enigma. Most of them ignore the player until they are attacked, and they come in different shapes and forms, some almost like men. They are made of both flesh and stone, and all possess the same strange facial features. Stone-set blue eyes, almost robotic in nature. Where did they come from? What is their connection to Dormin? The game doesn't give any solid answers, just suggestions, and so the player is left to speculate and come to their own conclusions. I'd be remiss not to mention how the game draws on existing literary conventions to further emphasize this. Clear allusions to David and Goliath mythology, fairy tale-esque in its sleeping beauty trope, magical swords and weak spots on mystic sigils, all drawing on existing myth to further invite the player into thinking about this game more, about linking existing myths to this story, guessing at what may come next, guessing at why Dormin wants those 16 Colossus slain, guessing at how this story will end. And underneath it all, there is a constant underlying pathos. Wanda suffers as he kills the Colossus and is infused with their dark power, his skin becoming a patchwork of blackened veins with sunken eyes, his clothing torn apart. The act of slaying these beasts is a constant rug pull for the player. Soaring orchestral soundtracks play in breathless fight against these huge beings that Wanda has to scale and maul at with his sword, through sea and sky and in storms and abandoned caves, hacking away at strange sigils that act as weak points until you deplete their life bar whilst also managing your own stamina bar, hoping you have enough left to weather the struggle of the Colossus as it tries to throw you off before you can strike the final blow. Then the music stops as the camera focuses on the Colossus as it topples slowly to the ground. Geysers of blood and dark energy spilling from where you attack. The music changes to somber, mournful violin. Everything is slowed. What was just moments before a battle, now a seemingly senseless slaughter of some majestic, one-of-its-kind entity. You are forced to confront what you have just done every time you slay a Colossus, and not only that, in between battles, you travel the Forbidden Land in search of the next giant to slay. These journeys are lonely, the silent, isolating, abandoned ruins suggestive of what was, and long stretches of empty barren landscape, leaving you little to do but think. It's in these moments that the melancholy reaches its peak, heading out again to kill an innocent creature, and nothing but time to mull on why. In your quest to bring back Mono, you are accompanied only by your horse Agro, a horse that nuzzles you awake after each battle, that furiously picks up speed when underfoot a giant Colossus, that answers your call every time. This horse is constantly put at risk in your battle, but serves you unerringly. Agro is your partner. The most common word you'll hear in the game is Wanda shouting for Agro, and Agro coming. Agro is designed deliberately to be slightly unwieldy, deliberately made to be a little independent, not just serve as a tool for Wanda, but a companion as well. You travel with him for the entire game and take him into battle, and he faces the danger of those battles with you steadfast, until you risk aggro one too many times and a sacrifice is made. Again and again, you're made to confront the consequences of your action. What then is the game suggesting about Wanda's quest? His actions feel almost strangely hypocritical. Mono being sacrificed due to having a cursed fate, juxtaposed against the killings of those Colossus, portray Wanda as at least morally in tow with those that sacrificed Mono, as being killed for having a cursed fate seems as senseless and cruel as his killings of the Colossus. Why should they die so Mono can live? Why should Mono die for having a cursed fate? This is further compounded by the fact that Wanda's quest will result in freeing Dormin, who by every measure of the world seems to have been sealed away at great effort and cost for reasons unknown. It's unfair, it's cruel. But this cruelty is tested against Wanda's motivated grief. The game doesn't pass overt judgment. The ending is bittersweet. Mono arrived at the cost of Wanda's life, momentarily transformed into what we can only assume is Dormin, before being sealed away and reborn as a child. Reunited with Mono, but not as the Wanda he was. It's sad and morally ambiguous, and ends with more questions. The ending suggests that Wanda's quest to overcome Mono's death was ultimately futile, that life and death is a cycle that cannot be avoided. The death of the Colossus results in the life of Mono. Her life results in the death of Wanda, whose death in turn results in the rebirth of Dormin. Finally, Dormin's apparent resealing and death results in the rebirth of baby Wanda. But what now for Mono, and where is Dormin? At least, with the cycle seemingly broken, there's a moment of bliss, as an old friend hobbles into view. This is just some of what makes Shadow of the Colossus so special, why its popularity endures to this day. It offers a deeply complex moral quandary, but situates it in a straightforward plot of bringing a loved one back to life by bargaining with a god. It also has stunning, haunting, moving soundtrack that embeds the gameplay extremely well. It is visually stunning now, and was when it first came out, due to the modern remake, and has a lot of fun gaming elements like time trials and unlockable items that mix up the gameplay over town visits, and the core gameplay of hunting down the Colossus, working out how to take them down, and then doing so is very engaging. Shadow of the Colossus will always remain an ambiguous game. We will never know the answers to some of the questions it poses. In an interview, creator of Shadow of the Colossus, Fumita Ueda, discusses playing games where he doesn't understand the language, but enjoying them anyway. It feels fitting in a video that contains so much discussion about ambiguity and inferring meaning and asking questions, to end with a quote from the creator about it.